Hi and welcome back! Today we're gonna create 5 cards using one stamp set, and I'm gonna use a beautiful stamp set from Simon Says Stamp called Look for the Rainbow, and I absolutely love this stamp set. I got it recently. I showed it in a haul video and I think it has been released for quite some time, but I just recently picked it up and I'm super pleased with how it looked. And I actually started to create this card and then I decided to turn on my camera and continue to make this into a video because I realized that I wanted to create more than one card. So I had used my Sig markers, my Sig Clean Color Real Brush markers. I have a pack of 48 colors and I used the light green. I will have them listed up here, and I'm not doing anything fancy at all. I am just scribbling on some color and then I'm picking it up once more with my brush here. This is a water brush, so I have some liquid inside it, and then I go over the parts that I want to be a little bit more darker, where the leaves are creasing. And then when I have gone in once, I will actually go back over it again after it has dried a little bit and build up the colors. I will speed up the process and I will not show you every coloring bit in this video because then it had been a really long video and I wanted to keep this quite easy and fun. So I decided just to show you some bits here and there of how I created all of these 5 cards. They were I think they were fun cards to create. I really like flower cards because you can play around with the colors and you can use different type of mediums and techniques. So I was just in the mood to practice my coloring skills here with my no line coloring. This is something I have a really hard time doing, so I always try to find good images to practice and color with, and I absolutely love these ones, especially the larger one that I am stamping out here now. I'm using the Bailey Beers ink from Simon Says Stamp, and I really like this one. I know Ink on Tree has something similar that you can use for your no line coloring. You can also use antique linen if you want to, but what I like about this ink is that it really acts, it's nearly like it soaks up the water and creates its own color with the color you are painting it in. So it's really easy to stay inside of the lines because they are not disappearing when you are coloring. I think you can see it better here on screen when I have zoomed in a little bit, that the color is that the ink is picking up the color that you are coloring it in with, so it makes it really easy to know where your petals are in this case. And also another tip for doing that is not to color the next petal next to this petal. You should switch it up like I'm doing here and color every other, just to make sure that it dries and not seeps into each other. That will also help you to know where the next petal starts and where this ends and where the overlapping is and where the darker and brighter part should be. For these flowers, since they are really open, I wanted to have the middle of the petal quite light and the center, I should say the center quite light, and the lower and upper part of the leaf I have a little bit more color down. But I'm no expert at coloring. I'm saying I am practicing myself, so you could actually Google this technique and get pretty good tutorials on how to do this technique. I just show you some bits here and maybe you get inspired to try something similar yourself. You can see here that I am the more confident I get with this, the faster it gets. And I actually think it's easier when you have colored in some of the petals to know how it looks and where you want the darker parts to be. So as you can see, this last one actually goes pretty quick to create, and it's really fun, and you can sit outside maybe and color and take this video on the go. I really like these markers because they are super easy to bring if you are traveling and stuff like that. Maybe you're not traveling as much right now, but you get the point of what I'm meaning. And you can see I'm dabbing my brush to the side, and that is just to take away some of the color, so I don't transfer it to the whole petal, since I want that lighter bit. And now I want to create some masks, so I have some masking paper here. This is just something I found on the toy shop, actually. I picked it up for Felicia, but she have never used it, so I'm using it instead. It's paper that you can color on too. It's a large roll of it, and I'm gonna use this as masks. And I'm sorry if my screen is a little bit tilted. I didn't check my camera before I pressed record, and I think I accidentally had moved my arm here that holding my camera. I don't think it's too distracting, but I can see it on my screen here, so I hope you find it okay on your large screen as well. I created my masks and I fussy cut them out, and now we're gonna create 2 cards with these. I'm just gonna watercolor them in off screen later on with my Altenew markers, but you can use whatever watercoloring medium you have or your Copics. Just make sure that you have the right surface and right ink when you are doing that. So for this I'm using Versa Fine Onyx Black, and that is great for coloring with just watercolors. They are not good if you are going to be coloring with your alcohol markers. Then you want another type of ink. And here I'm figuring out how I want this to look in the end, and I'm just contemplating putting another flower there, but I'm actually deciding against it and just leaving it as is. And then I'm gonna create my other panel here. This is gonna be a background pattern, so I'm gonna continue going around the whole page here, creating small clusters of flowers. I think this turned out really good. It was very easy to create the pattern since I already had the mask cut out. And it was really easy to stamp this out. You just have to be a little bit careful when you are doing this, because you want it to look good in the end. So make sure that your flowers are placed good, so you can actually see that it is a flower or a leaf or something like that. If you are too close to the edge of the paper, it can look a little bit funny when you are done. But I think this turned out great. So now when I'm happy with all of this, I'm going to take my leaf here and just press it down to some bits at this paper that I think needs some more filler images. So I'm just gonna go to the edges here. You can see that I am lining my stamp up, and yeah, I just want some more filling here. This is my last card, and this is actually featuring another product from Simon Says Stamp. I'm just gonna ink blend a simple background. I was not in a mood to create more flower clusters, so I decided to do this instead. I had been thinking about using the cute butterflies and birds in this set to create another background pattern, but I decided against it. I actually tried to no line color in them, and I liked how that turned out. You can actually see it to the side here. But I decided to not use them in this project. I have saved them. I actually cut them out and saved them for another project. So here are our 5 cards that we are gonna create with. I will cut out the flowers that we colored in earlier, that I showed you a little bit of. And then I will be back really soon here and showing you when all is cut out. So here it is, all the panels and everything, and the flowers that we cut out. And now comes the part, and this is something I really like when I create multiple cards. I want the colors to be quite similar. I want them to use maybe the same stamp set or the same products. I want to make them in bulks like this, so I'm doing all my panels at once, all the coloring at once, and then we will do all the sentiment at once, and then all the adhering at once, and then the embellishment part. So if you do it like this, I promise you that it will take less time, and you will be looking at your products in the same way, and that they will look cohesive in the end. Because if you want to send them to somebody in like a present, 5 cards, then it's really good if they are having they are looking the same. And I'm sorry about my lamp here, it's giving you a really bad glare, I can see it there, and I'm sorry about that. It will be better soon, I promise. I just had my Misty out, and that is actually the thing that is reflecting, and I can see my ink pad is as well. I think I have to put something over my lamps to mute the brightness of the lamp a little bit more. Otherwise I'm super happy. They are just inexpensive lamps from IKEA that I have put good light bulbs in. I think it turned out good. So for this I actually will show you how I'm heat embossing. It's really rare that I'm doing that on screen. That is just because I have to move my mat that I'm filming with, because that will actually get destroyed if it gets too much heat. But now I have my glass mat underneath and you actually can see how it turns out. It melts really beautiful, and it was a gold embossing powder from Wow that I used. So you can see every card has got a sentiment. I used all the sentiment from this same stamp set, and I think they coordinated well. This one I actually wasn't happy with. I tried to stamp it in black on top of it, but I didn't like it, so I actually heat embossed the same stamp set on top of some white smooth cardstock in gold. I just wanted to make sure that I liked it before I did it. So, and off camera I did some patterns with my scoring tool here, and that will be the focal, I should say the focal point for my flowers here that we are going to create a cluster for. And I think it's important when you do projects to have some dimension on your cards. So here I'm using, this is a really thin foam tape from Simon Says Stamp called Big Mama foam tape, and I love this because it gives dimension but not that much, so you can actually send this out really easy. This is some press and seal. I got this tip from Jennifer McGuire. I'm just pressing my flowers down and it will keep it in place, and it will keep it so much in place that I can put down my foam tape. And this is some Scotch foam tape. This has a little bit more dimension. I can link a video up in the corner here where I'm talking about these two types of adhesive that I'm usually using. It's my go-to, so I really like them. I'm cutting off some leaves that I think hangs off the edge too much. I'm adhering them with some glue, pressing them down underneath my petal there. So this card panel was pretty much done. I just put some double-sided dimension tape, the same Big Mama from Simon Says Stamp, and the same thing here. And we will adhere our small back strip in a second here. Putting some more liquid glue down, adhering the next panel, and then we go like this until every card is pretty much done. It's important to press down really well at the edges because this is a watercolor cardstock that is really heavy and it has a tendency to bend up just in the edges, so make sure that you are pressing that really heavily down. So this is the panel that I was talking about earlier that I was contemplating on putting another sentiment on top, and I actually decided to do that. I'm popping it up with some foam tape. I'm popping every sentiment up with some foam tape. I love that black against the white card panel here. I decided to cut my sentiment down here into two smaller strips and pair them together again. Of course with some dimension. And here you can see I'm using small foam strips from the Reese. Popping that up. Deciding that I want some more foam tape just to the edge there. And I will actually cut this down a little bit as well, so it fits more nicely on top of our card panel. So then the fun part comes when you can embellish this. I'm using my favorite embellishments from Pretty Pink Pars. These are just some clear sequin mix in different shapes. In different sizes. So they are really nice to just pop on a card that you can use them on all types of colors. And that is also something that makes these cards go better together. They are more cohesive if you use the same types of embellishments. So now I will leave you with some close-ups of all of our cards today, and I hope you liked this video. If you liked it, I would be really happy if you could consider subscribing to my channel and maybe liking and commenting on this card, or sorry, on this video. It would be really fun if you could comment down below which of our 5 cards you like the best. This one I'm holding up right now is definitely one of my favorites. So I hope you are great and everything is well where you are at the moment, and I see you soon. Bye!